Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is Taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
Welcome to I Don't Need an Acting Class with Milton Justice.
I was looking over my notes from the Stanislavski Symposium I went to in London, and I think that's where these notes came from, although they could have come from Prague, but these look like the London notes. And what I realized with all of these people and me and us is that so many of the things that we're doing are just trying to help us stimulate ourselves creatively. It's not like they're rules. It's not like Stanislavski had a series of exercises that people everywhere are trying to do. It's that we keep looking at something to kind of stimulate ourselves. In the same way, I'd be thrilled if somebody said, I tried this, it worked. But I was looking through this book of notes I have, and I mean, there's so many things. And the joy of this particular symposium is that there are a lot of experts in the field exchanging notes, trying to break the back on what we laughingly call the secret of acting. A couple of notes that I found, and one of them I want us to work on. One of the teachers talked about events in the character's life, or maybe in the text of the play. And an event is something that is unusual. It's theatrical. It's probably something that shouldn't have happened. It's about something that happens that wouldn't normally happen in the normal course of things. And we even do this in life. In life, we do the same thing. If we're talking about something that happened, we talk about a series of events. It's something that makes it unusual, something that's not normal. Okay, so what this tells us in acting is when we're picking these things that happen, it's just a good way to look at something. Use it or not. Eventually you might want to. But you're looking at events in Deirdre's life as an example. Events are often, and I hate all this stuff, but it's interesting, so I'm throwing it in. Events are often the first time or the last time that something has happened. It's just one of those things. And it was sort of like Zadacha, finding the Russian word Zadacha, meaning problems. I thought, oh, that's interesting. What is the character's problem? Similarly, these are things that I kind of throw out to you that I think that's very interesting. What are the events in this character's life? Maybe it was the first time it happened, or maybe it was the last time it happened. Events change something. Now, that makes total sense to me. There was an event. Let's go back to George Sackheim. There was an event. Hitler, he was in 1933, when he was 9.5 years old, Hitler came to power and the Nazis took over Berlin. An event. It's an event that changes something. It brings about new ideas or feelings in the character. Certainly in this case, it brought out different feelings. Sometimes events force you to see a whole new way of life and things change. If we look at a play we reference often, All My Sons, if you look at Chris and All My Sons, something happened. There is an event in his past when he lost all of his men in the war. It changed him. It changed who he was. It changed how he saw things. It changed his life, the direction of his life path. And I like that because I think it kind of gives you it gives you stuff that you say, oh, yes, that's good. I can work on that. I think what we're trying to do with all of this is we're trying to access tools that stimulate us, that give us something to work on. The playwright gives us a lot. Sharon suggests that, she says, well, look at it this way. The playwright gives you a lot, and then you want to think out what's missing. And it's an important thing, but again, you have to be really, really careful. You cannot move too quickly with acting. But once you figure out what's missing, then you step in. And in a sense, you begin to collaborate with the author because you're filling in what's missing. So the kind of idea behind this is you bundle up the thoughts about the character and the play, and you confront them. You take them on. You bundle them up, and then you go to sleep. And then when you wake up, they're there. But I know. It's, but it was kind of, you really, it's like, oh, yes, I have this, and I have this, and I have this, and I have this. And I've thought about it, and I've looked at it, and I've worked on it, and I've thought about, okay, now I'm going to go to sleep. And then in the morning when I wake up, they're going to all be there. And it all sort of falls into place. There are things that become your challenge as an actor. I, will say to you to declare a war on cliches. Go beyond the obvious. So that becomes what you do as an actor. The obvious is this. I'm going to go beyond the obvious. And that's the work. To me, it's the joy of the work. I think this is the fun part. It's not necessarily fun when you're doing it, but once you find it, it's like, Walker said he was in the bank talking out. He was in the bank talking out his character. And of course, I always think that when you're in New York City and you're in the bank talking out your character, that nobody looks at you because, it's like people talking to themselves in New York is a norm, but evidently he caused a bit of a stir. But it is something worth mentioning. There was a theatrical moment that makes this particular event worth mentioning. And these are great things for us to grab onto. I love adding that vocabulary word for us because you say, oh, yes, there was an event. It adds to, I think, something that I've always suggested in building the past, which is you approach it as there was the time that, which has always helped me get specific. And sometimes if you ask yourself that question, you will start with a moment in the past, and then you will add to it, and I will say to you, like when. At any time you're general, I would suggest that you do that. Anytime you say, he's always been, Raphael did that with his guy at one point. He said he's always been on top of things. And I said to him, like when? It's just, being specific helps you. So that we then began to call recently an event. There was an event that happened, and it's such a good word because it heightens it. And then one of the teachers suggested that you look at the facts that lead up to the event. And again, this is all in service of making us attentive to our choices and opening us up. And that was the one thing that I noticed going through these notes, is they're all little turns of the dial. They're all little tweaks. They're all little things to kind of utz you in a different direction so that you're really pushing it someplace that brings you to life. So all of these are just little things to help bring you to life. There was a note that when I was listening to Stella's class earlier today, that she said the inside gives you the size, not the text. And it's an important coupling of this information, because what we want is depth. What we want is this rich, deep inside of the character, and that is what gives you size. That is what gives you an importance to what you're talking about.
I Don't Need an Acting Class is hosted and created by Milton Justice. Senior producer is me, Walker Vreeland, and director of online media is Evan Sollers, who does all of our graphic design. Music by Jeffrey Keyser Trio, May This Be Love, from their album On My Way to You. If you have a moment, please rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find us. And if you would like to send an email, if you have a question for Milton, you can do so at questionsformilton@gmail.com. Another way to get in touch is on Instagram at I Don't Need an Acting Class. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you back here next week.